Hi, fifth graders. Tonight's lesson is lesson 10-1, Analyze Line Plots. The I can statement is I can read and analyze line plots. Pause the video now to write the lesson number and title, as well as the I can statement on a new page in your math notebook. When you're ready to continue, press play. There's some vocabulary you need to be familiar with this unit. The first vocabulary word is line plot. You can see an example of a line plot on the screen. You can see how there is, You can see that there is a subject title for what they're measuring. You can see the numbers represented of the data. And then you can also see the dots representing the number of things that are being measured. We also have the vocabulary word of data. In this slide, the definition for data is given an example by the amount of rainfall. They are using whole numbers and fractions. I think it's important to remember that data can be any type of information gathered, not just fractions or whole numbers, but in this case, it is. Pause the video now to write the new vocabulary terms and examples in your notebook. When you are finished, press play to continue. Here's today's solve and share problem. Several students were asked how many blocks they walk from home to school each day. The results are shown in the line plot below. Miguel walks the shortest distance. Jilla walks the longest distance. How much further than Miguel does Jilla walk? Press pause now to work this problem any way you choose. Press play when you are ready to continue. Okay, in this problem, there's a little bit of a different approach than our typical word problems. Cubes is a little hard because the information is displayed differently. So let's kind of read over the problem so we can start to process and think about how we would solve it. First of all, it says several students were asked how many blocks they walk from home to school each day. The results are shown in the line plot below. So for example, I think we need to start to kind of look at what the graph is showing. We know it's showing blocks. So each number represents how many blocks the students walk. Right here, the number one whole number would be students who walked 1 block. The whole number 2 is how many students walked 2 blocks. The numbers represented by how many students walked 3 blocks, and the whole number of 4 blocks, and all the fractions in between. When I'm seeing this, I also want to think, if I have a whole number 1 and 2, and then have the fractions here in the middle, I need to think about what those dashes represent. In this case, this middle one would be 1 or 1 1/2, making this first dot 1 1/4, and then this dot here 1 3/4. So I know that each dash on the number plot or line plot would be representing a 4th. So when I do this, it asks Miguel walks the shortest distance. So because this is blocks, I know the shortest distance walked is this number right here. That dot would represent Miguel. There's 1 dash before the first whole number. Now, knowing that each one of these dashes is a 4th, I know the first fraction before the whole would be represented by 3/4. So Miguel walks 3/4 blocks. I'm going to erase that because that looks sloppy. So Miguel, again, walks 3/4 blocks. Because Jill walks the longest distance. And again, we have to think about, it doesn't say which one Jilla is, but we know that she walked the longest. So the person who walked the longest distance is this one right here, which we can figure represents Gila. So knowing this, we have 4 on this graph. So this must be 4 1/4, making this 4 1/2. So Gila walks 4 1/2 block to school. Now it says how much further than Miguel does Gila walk. So when it says how much further, I know that I'm needing to process and think about the difference. If I'm wanting to know the difference, that means I need to subtract. So now I need to go back to thinking, oh, I know I've learned how to subtract fractions. So I'm going to start here and write 4 1/2 minus 3/4. And again, thinking back of when I've learned this, I know to subtract, I need to have common denominators. I know that 2 and 4 can both multiply into 4 evenly. 4 times 1 equals 4. So I take the top number times 1 as well. So 3 times 1 is 3. Then I have my number here, my denominator. 2 times what equals 4? Well, that would be 2. Since I take the bottom number times 2, I have to take that top number multiplied by 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Now, here's where I'm stuck, and we ran into this problem when we learned fractions. The numerator here at the top is smaller than the numerator on the bottom. So I have to rename one whole. I borrow one whole from this 4, making it a 3. Then I have to bring it over. Now, how many fourths equal one whole? 4 fourths. I renamed the one whole from this side to 4 fourths. Now making my fraction 6/4 minus 3/4. Now I can subtract. 6 minus 3 is 3. And then remember, when I'm subtracting denominators, I leave them the same. So my fraction is 3/4. And don't forget, I have to go back to the whole number I have, which 3 minus no wholes is 3. So my answer would be that Gila walks 3 3/4 blocks further than Miguel. So I'm going to go ahead and write my table. Let's see how other people solved it. Here's Monica's work. It asks, how did Monica use the line plot to answer the question? Monica did a great job to figure it out. She used addition, but what I like about what she did is she kind of used the line plot as a number line. She went, she took the 3/4 and knew that she had to go all the way to 4 1/2. She knew that there was 1/4 in each part of the line plot is broken up into fourths. And in fact, she kind of worked backwards. She first went back a half, and then to get to the whole number, and then she went back 3 wholes, and then she had to go back a fourth. So this was her fourth, these were her 3 wholes, and this was her half jump. So again, she used it like a number line, and then that is how she got the total 3 3/4. If she had 3 wholes, then 1/4 plus 1/2 is 3/4. Next, let's look at Steve's work. Because what does Steve not understand about how to read a line plot? First up, it says the largest number of dots is 3. So Gila walked 3 blocks. The smallest number of dots is 1. So Miguel walked 1 block. Steve didn't realize that each dot represents one student who walked that distance. So each dot is one data point on the line plot. So if I was really thinking about this, I would think that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. distance and all. And this showed how they voted. As I was reading this, one person chose or said that they walked 3/4 blocks. One person said they walked 1 block. And if, again, for time purposes, one person said they walked 2 blocks. 3 people in class said they walked 2.5, and so on. The dots represent a student, and then that tells us how many blocks a student walked to school. Next, I want you to think about how you solve this problem. This is a new topic, so are you understanding how to read a line plot? Do you understand what the data represents and what is shown? Summarize your thinking in your notebook. Discuss whether this comes natural and easy and it's easy for you to interpret and read the data, or is it something you're not quite sure yet and you're excited to learn about? Either way, write about your thinking, talk about how you solved the problem, and be able to discuss your strategies in class. I also want you to write the word Super Bowl at the top of your paper. And when I say this, this is about a week and a half before the game. So hopefully when you get to this, the Chiefs will be champs. So see you tomorrow.